My story is rather unusual because just 8 years ago, I would have told you there was no way that I would ever be brave enough, strong enough, or skilled enough to ride my own motorcycle. In fact, when I took my first DMV required skills test back in 2018, I like to say that I failed spectacularly. I drove on top of the cones, I rode outside of the lines, and I couldn't even brake my motorcycle in time. And then a week later, when I went back to do my retake, I got the lowest possible passing score. Even 2 years later, in 2020, I was still too afraid to ride up my own driveway. At the time, I was going through a really low point in my life. I was battling throat cancer and going through a second divorce, and the chemo and radiation treatments caused the hair on the back of my head to fall out, and I lost the ability to eat or speak for several weeks. I'm a high school math teacher, and I had to program a speech app to speak for me in my classroom. I was also grappling with this visceral fear of being alone. I was afraid of living alone, traveling alone, and riding my motorcycle alone. And on top of that, I was feeling these really significant feelings of shame. You see, from my own perspective, I had felt that I had just made too many mistakes for God to ever use me for good again. And to be honest with you, there were days where I just laid on the bathroom floor and cried because I was so full of despair and hopelessness. I am so happy to be able to tell you that a lot has changed since then, as I have learned how to take a series of small steps of faith to learn to live my life more fully. I like to call this living at full throttle. What would you do if fear were not your first thought?